So, what Nancy and I are going to talk about in today's training and today's episode is actually something that I haven't spoken about before, but it actually came up in a conversation that Nancy and I had at breakfast. And we were on a call with one of our team members, and we were kind of going through some new things that we're doing with some sales funnels that we're putting into place for 2026. And a name was brought up of someone that's a really big player in the AI space. And this person has been wildly successful in certain aspects of AI that really intrigued myself and Nancy. And this is not uncommon for me to do. I will, while a name is mentioned, I will go and I'll search for them on LinkedIn, kind of check them out a little bit. And if I feel it could be a good synergistic connection, I'll send them a connection request. And nine times out of 10, I'm either texting Nancy or calling her saying, guess who just accepted my connection request from yesterday? And it's happened many, many times over the last number of years. So the premise of today's episode and today's training, no matter what space you're in, whether it's health insurance, finance, a coach, a consultant, AI, LinkedIn, whatever your focus is for your business, there are other influencer and micro influencers on LinkedIn where collaborations can take place, where opportunities to benefit from each other's networks and opportunities can arise. But what I feel is missing in why people maybe are not successful at connecting with some of these people. There's a couple things that we wanted to cover today to help you. You know, if you're listening or if you're watching and you want to connect with bigger players in your space and you know they have a presence on LinkedIn, but every time in the past you've tried to connect with these people and that connection request gets unaccepted or unnoticed, just like the others that you're sending out to maybe some ideal clients. Nancy and I are going to go over some strategies of what you can do to elevate your chances and opportunities to have these influencers and micro influencers accept your connections. But before we get into today's episode, as Nancy and I have mentioned in previous episodes, one of the best ways to create visibility on LinkedIn, to get noticed, to attract clients, to open doors of opportunity is having thought leadership and really, really honed in content on LinkedIn. And if you don't know where to start, that's okay because Nancy and I have a free resource for anyone that wants it. It is the LinkedIn post template to boost engagement and attract clients on LinkedIn. It is a free template that gives you three different prompts that you can use in kind of Mad Lib style to help you craft and create posts that garner more engagement, more visibility, and more reach. If you're watching on social, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, all you have to do is type the word me in the comments and we will send you the link so you can download this template. If you're listening on the podcast, super easy. The description of this episode has the link. Click on it, download it, and they are yours. So, Nance, let's go back to something that I kind of forementioned. How many times in reality have you and I talked about someone, or you heard about someone on a podcast, or you listened to someone on a podcast, or you listened to this person's podcast, or a name was mentioned, and I went on, found them, connected with them, and they accepted my connection request. And I'm just going to name drop one person because we've talked about him many, many times, Andy Crestodina, who's amazing. You dug into his book, Content Chemistry. You liked a lot of the stuff that he was doing on LinkedIn. I connected with him, reached out to him. We've done multiple podcasts, we've had multiple calls, and that's just one of many. So, how often does that happen where a name comes up, I dig into it, I get connected, and something happens positive on the back end?
Yeah. Well, for everyone listening, I think it's important to note, right? Scott and I run our business together, right? We have multiple businesses. And I very much love the behind the scenes, right? So I am a little knowledge crammer. I'm always learning, I'm listening to things. And I will kind of get on these kicks where I will maybe read a book or I will, listen to a podcast or someone will be a guest and I'll get excited, right? I'll do a little fangirling. I'm definitely a little bit of a, tech nerd, especially lately with all of AI. And I'll hear about someone and I'll go, Scott, you have got to connect with this person. And everyone, in fact, I was starting to write, Scott, like a little like ongoing tally list of all the people, that were coming to mind. Like even Travis Bradberry,
Yeah.
right? He
Yeah.
wrote the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I follow him every day. In fact, if you guys are listening, he posts just great, like very thoughtful, quotes and stuff every day. And, I was definitely a fan of his book. And I said, Scott, you should definitely reach out. And him and Travis got on a podcast, and it was just again, a no-brainer. It was so easy to connect. So there's definitely that misconception that, many people just think, well, who am I? I'm not, this isn't possible. I'm not able to kind of get my foot in the door and have conversations with these people. But guys, you have no idea, right? The power of LinkedIn and actually, right? Showing up, showing that you're a credible resource, right? Where and what other platform allows you to actually list out your skills, your expertise, your recommendations, right? Okay, so Scott has 500 LinkedIn recommendations. I'm not saying that everybody's got to have 500 LinkedIn recommendations, but he's got a ton. So Scott, are you looking at the book? I can see the reflection of your
No,
look at
so
yeah.
I'm in a group on LinkedIn for sales executives and leaders. So I do poll questions in there. So I always look to see who the group owner or moderator is, and the gentleman by the name of Lee Sauls is the owner of this uh, group. And so I reached out to him personally. I sent him a connection request. I reached out, and he's all about sales and stuff. And I said, Lee, I'm a part of your group on LinkedIn. I love what you're doing. I also see that you have a number of sales books. So he has his two big books are Sell Different and Sales Differentiation. And I just really love everything that he does and talks about. He's got a really nice following on LinkedIn. And I said, I'd love to feature you on my podcast. And he accepted my connection request immediately, reached right back out. He goes, would love to as well. So you're doing great things on LinkedIn too. Let's chat. Sent him my link. We did an interview yesterday. And it couldn't have been more of an organic connection, Nance. It was so funny. So if you're listening on the podcast behind me, I have the second place medal that I won at the 2025 Bench Press Nationals in Valley Forge, PA. So I get on there with him, Nance, and I see a bunch of medals.
Nice.
So so he start I don't know what they are. So I start my podcast the same way, tell me how you got into sales and blah blah blah. And he goes back and he goes, I was it was back when I was in the fitness industry, yada yada yada. I'm still a part of the fitness industry. I do competitive bench pressing, and I'm like, whoa 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 whoa. And
BFFs.
yeah, and I mean he's about 10 years older than me. He's 56, but he goes, yeah, all these medals are from state championships and national championships and this, that, or the other. So it was such an organic conversation that wouldn't have come about if the credibility really wasn't built on LinkedIn. And I kind
Yeah.
of want to like talk through that a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing, right? To Scott's point, whenever people go through, and I do this as well, with my own connections, anyone who's wanting to connect with me, I'm just going to give you the example, right? Am I more likely to connect with someone, okay, who doesn't have a background image, maybe has some spammy headline like, I can generate 100 leads in 5 days, and then doesn't really have a completely filled out profile and hasn't posted content in ages? Probably not. Now, over here, am I going to connect with, someone who's an active LinkedIn user? Their profile's filled out. It says what they do, how they work with people. Their about section is great, right? I resonate with a lot of stuff that they're doing. And they're posting content that shows that they are doing the do. They know what the heck they're talking about, right? And I'm not talking about content that says, hey, hire me, I'm a salesperson. No, it's the content that says, guys, here's what's going on right now, and here are my thoughts. And here's some, big things in the whatever industry, that's what we look for, right? And so a lot of these, people, and again, we're not going to like drop all the names of all the people we've connected with, but the thing is it freaking works, right? And the thing is if we're able to get our foot in the door and we're actually able to connect with, micro influencers, influencers, authors, like my goodness, I just did my, I do like a quarterly, book order where I'll order some of the latest business books and I'll go through and I do Tim Ferriss's like speed reading method, I'll kind of highlight and take notes. I'll find an author and I'm like, yes, I love, how they write. A lot of these people, guys, again, number one, we want to help promote their stuff and we want to definitely obviously get them on our podcast. It might not be a podcast. If you guys don't have a podcast, it could be a LinkedIn Live. You could do a roundtable talk. There's lots of different ways that you can interact, but the whole point is this is possible if you are doing the do on LinkedIn. Okay. And we're not talking about some wild and crazy checklist. It's being consistent with showing up, right? We talk a lot about content, making sure that you guys are posting, stuff that obviously makes sense. That's why we created the Expert Content Society, which, again, like Scott shared, we'll put a link in the show notes for our three, high impact LinkedIn post templates that you guys can actually use, if you want to dive in and kind of see what that looks like. But the thing is it's possible. And it's just using LinkedIn and it's using it the right way.
So let me just kind of go through really quickly exactly what I'm
Oh,
talking
how did you
about.
do that? For anyone watching, he's got a little picture of him in the corner. It's
So
that's so
so so here's the thing. To Nancy's point, when when someone sends me a connection request and I'm kind of on the fence if I'm going to accept or not, I'm going to go to their profile and I'm going to kind of look at what they're doing. And I can smell a sales pitch from a mile away. And I can tell if it's going to be a sales pitch based on their background banner, based on their headline, and any content or non-content they are or are not sharing. So, for anyone that is looking to connect with influencers or micro influencers in the space that they're in, it's really predicated on your profile. I can guarantee you the a lot of the really big connections that I've made over the last number of years before that influencer or micro influencer decided to accept my connection, they vetted me out. And one of the first things they probably did was go to my LinkedIn profile. So I always look at my LinkedIn profile very subjectively, meaning I try to put myself in the shoes of the person that I'm connecting with. And if I was that influencer or micro influencer, would I more likely than not accept or not accept? So here are some things that you can focus on within your LinkedIn profile that will allow you to better connect with some of these influencers or micro influencers in the space that you're in on LinkedIn. The first thing is the background banner, making sure the credibility is there. So on mine, it has the book, the number one best-selling book that Nancy and I wrote together, The Feel Good Business Model, and one of my number one best-selling books, The LinkedIn Book for Sales and Marketing. It also has four different publications that I've been featured in. Book Authority, Authority Magazine, Digital Marketer, Yahoo Finance. And it also states on the top exactly what I focus on, the LinkedIn sales and marketing system for coaches and consultants, right? It's just stating what I do. But below that, the headline also is going to reveal to that person if this person knows what they're doing or not, right? So my headline, Human Driven AI Prompts for LinkedIn Content, co-founder of the Expert Content Society, creator of the LinkedIn Leads Generation, AI GPTs, Human Connection, author, speaker, podcast host, client acquisition, sales. The other thing is I have the clickable link here. in the top portion of my headline where people can learn a little bit more about something that I'm promoting or what I'm doing, but also the featured content section. You want your credibility to do the accepting for you. So when someone goes to my LinkedIn profile, number one, they can see I have 35,750 followers. They can see that I have 10,770 subscribers on my LinkedIn newsletter. They can see that I have 532 written recommendations on my LinkedIn profile. So all of these things are credibility builders for you to connect with better people on LinkedIn. Now, you're not going to go from where you are to 35,000 followers overnight. It's going to take consistency. You're not going to go from where you are now to 10,000 subscribers on your LinkedIn newsletter if you don't have one. And most certainly, you're not going to go from where you are now to 532 written recommendations. But consistency is the thing that always wins. So focusing on having the right kind of background banner, making sure that your headline specifies the areas of expertise that you have. So when you're connecting with that influencer or that micro influencer, it makes sense to them. But focus on building your following, building your connections, growing your LinkedIn newsletter, growing the amount of recommendations that you have on the platform. And that over time will help you bridge that gap between these influencers and micro influencers so you can start connecting with better people. So, before we sign off today, just as Nancy kind of alluded to a few minutes ago, if you want to start by posting some better content that's going to get you in front of more people, we do have free templates that you can use. There's three of them. It's to boost your LinkedIn engagement and visibility and also attract clients. If you're watching on social, just type me in the comments and we'll send you the link directly. If you're listening on the podcast, super easy. Just head to the description. You can click on the link there, download them, and they are yours. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Love and gratitude, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye bye.